fantasy
Yeah,
basketball,
absolutely.
2008-2009 season. Wanted to get your 3 to 5 breakout players for next year because we had this year Rudy Gay,
Yeah.
Hedo Turkoglu, José Calderon, Chris
Chris Kaman.
Kaman, for
Yeah.
yeah, right. And so who can make an impact next year like the similar impact like those guys?
Yeah, and I think when you talk, and I'll give you some guys who are like Rudy Gay, who were good, but got a lot better. And, Kevin Durant, I think, is one of those guys who was good this year, but is going to get a lot better. The one thing from the fantasy perspective about Durant was the shooting percentages. But we've seen a lot of young players struggle in their rookie season and then get better as the year went on. Durant didn't necessarily get better as the year progressed, but we've seen guys like Rudy Gay, who you just mentioned, who was like a 42% shooter from the floor last year, and then this past season was even better. He was hovering about that 47, 48%, so he made a 6% jump, and I think that was huge for him. I think Kevin Durant, who's in that 40, 39% field goal percentage range, is going to be about a 45% shooter. This is still a team where he's the franchise. He's a volume shooter. He needs to take a lot of shots to get his points, but Durant, for me, is still a guy that I would consider drafting next year. And
Third round? They're in a 12-team league?
In a standard 12-team league, yeah, he's late 3, 4, 4th round for me, not much higher than that. And I think even that third round might even be pushing it just a touch for me, depending on who's on the board and who you're looking for. Jeff Green, though, if you want to talk about a bigger jump for guys, Green in the second half of the season last month really played well.
Yes,
I thought
indeed.
was a guy that on NBA TV I kept saying, you know what, you probably want to keep him on the waiver wire. You don't want to add him. In the beginning portions of this season, really came on strong. At the end, the last month became a viable option, and I think he takes that to the next level next season with now a full year under his belt. So I think those are two guys that remind me a little bit of Rudy Gay, where you know that they're going to be good. I think they're both going to be a lot better than what you saw in their rookie season. Another guy, Ramon Sessions from Milwaukee. It's tough in a clogged-up backcourt right now. It's got a Mo Williams. It's got a Michael Redd. I still like Sessions. I think he played too well not to earn a spot. John Hammond, their new general manager, actually talked to a couple weeks ago, and I said to him, did he earn himself a spot? He said, absolutely. This guy's going to be on this roster. He's played too well. I mean, 24 assists in a game. You're doing something right for your basketball team.
And I think had like 8 boards.
And he really played well. When he was given the opportunity. I like Sessions as a guy next season that I would consider. And not an early pick, a late guy, because he needs to be given the opportunity like he was given this year at the end of the season. But with Mo Williams and Michael Redd there, those guys usually get hurt.
Durability issues, right.
Yeah, there's a lot of durability issues with both of those guys. So for me, he's a guy that I take real late, but he's certainly a guy that I have my eye on based off of the fact that he needs to stay healthy.
And who would think that Ramon Sessions would progress more than Nick Fazekas coming out of Nevada? You know, like that's the thing.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And the D-League experience that Sessions had, I think, helped his play as well. And these guys, D-League players, they need that opportunity. And no general manager is going to look at D-League players and say, hey, I'm going to get my next big-time scorer. Guys in the NBA can already do that. It's the guys that can do the dirty work. Ime Udoka, now playing for the San Antonio Spurs, had some burn also with the New York Knicks and Portland Trailblazers, was a great scorer in the D-League. He's not a scorer in the NBA, not because he can't, but he knows that his role is not going to be an elite scorer. I mean, he's going to take over, I think, eventually that Bruce Bowen-type role for that San Antonio Spurs team. So keep your eye on what he can do. Not a fantasy guy, not a fantasy player, but he's in that mold of getting that opportunity, making the most out of it. If you need some bigs on the fantasy front, I can't believe I'm saying Tyrese Thomas, who is at times really burned me, but he's come up big as well. But I think Thomas and Joakim Noah, if you're looking for a couple bigs, both of those guys are about even in my mind, depending on what need that you have. But I think both those guys played better next year than what you saw for the most part this season.
Time for them to both start as well. To be starters at the 4 and 5.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to see. So those are a couple guys that I would look at next year for fantasy to keep your eye on. Not necessarily to give you stud production. I mean, the Chris Kaman jump and the Rudy Gay jump, those are few and far between. That doesn't happen every single year in fantasy. But the guys that I just mentioned before, I think all have the capability of really exceeding the expectation level based off of what we saw this past season.
Wow. And I wanted to mention one player who will be a superstar, I think, next year is Monte Ellis.
Oh. And the guy's already knocking on the door.
Oh, goodness. I mean, he shot 54% this season from the field, a 6'3" guard. And this is what I like about him. No one talks about compare his first 3 seasons to Kobe Bryant's first 3 seasons as a guard coming straight out of high school. It's just... those numbers, he has the better numbers when you think about it.
Yeah.
And it's so great. He doesn't launch three-pointers. Like, he's such a great shot selection. He's mastered the mid-range game. And his assists and rebound numbers have gone up, and he's going to give you a steal and a half. I think Monte Ellis, that's that guy. Like, I would pick him in the third round.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if not late, even early third or even late second, he's that good. He'll get you steals. He'll get you the points. Not a bad source of assists as well. And his play, just to watch him. And I know being here on the East Coast, watching those West Coast games with Golden State Warriors, not everyone gets to see it. But you want to talk about one of the most fun, athletic guys in the NBA. Yes. He is on the short list. And you don't win the Most Improved Player award 2 years in a row. He won it last year. Turkoglu won it this year. He was, in my mind, he's in the conversation. He was better this year, attacking the basket, creating contact just as a finisher. He is one of the most underrated guards in the NBA, in my mind.
Absolutely. And being under Baron Davis, that's why.
Yeah.
And Baron is now... What did you think of Baron Davis?
Crazy.
82 games.
Crazy.
I mean, I traded him. You know, I got Darren Williams in return, which is great. You know, but Baron Davis. Wow, really, I give him a lot of credit for really hanging in there and being a leader. And then also too what he did as well. He had a great year. Also, Sundance, his documentary premiered in Sundance.
Oh, how was it? Did you get a chance to watch that?
No, I didn't actually. And it was about his life in South Central LA and stuff like that. You know,
I know he's big on the entertainment front. I know when he was hurt a lot, he got had a lot of extra free time to work on some of those other
make
projects.
Some calls, make power deals.
I can't tell you how shocked I was that he played a full season. This guy doesn't do that. I mean, Baron Davis the last couple of years just hasn't been able to play a consistent 82-game season. And he was relatively healthy all season long. I think he only had legitimately 2-3 bad games. I mean, he was that good this year. So it was impressive, and it also helps the timing that, he's got that player option to leave Golden State. I don't think he does, because there's no one that's going to be able to give him the money that he's going to make this upcoming season with the Golden State Warriors. But he was great. He was great. And the playoff situation didn't play out, making it into the postseason. They weren't there. Yeah. They were a season ago, but...
And they had a better year. They won 8 more games.
Yeah, they won more games than they did a year ago, and just the Western Conference this year was that good.
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, how much, like, if they played the Lakers, how much more of an effort they would have gave defense. Because the Warriors, defensively, they're in the bottom tier, definitely. But they make an effort when they have to. When you have Steven Jackson, definitely that they did pick it up defensively in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and can you imagine if Steven Jackson doesn't miss the first 7 games of the year because of that suspension?
Right,
we could be
they
talking
started
about,
1-6.
Yeah, I mean they started out of the gate and then they just went on that roll. So Steven Jackson, as good as Baron Davis is and as crucial as he is to that team's success, Steven Jackson has a huge impact on what the Warriors do.
Wow, and I wanted to ask you real quick before we conclude, just about you. Coming out of Fordham University, and I mean, Bob Papa, Michael Kay, Mike Breen, like Vin Scully, legendary Vin Scully, Ed Randall, and Tony Reale. Those guys came out of Fordham, and you're a part of that list. Talk about coming out of Fordham. How did you establish yourself to be where you're at today?
The list that it's crazy to even know that you went to the same place, the same school as those guys. I mean, those guys are. Mike Breen is one of the best in the business when it comes to basketball play-by-play. One of the good guys in the business as well. All those guys are great. It's unbelievable, but they give you such a good foundation when you go to Fordham. I worked at the radio station WFUV for the 4 years that I was there.
Wow, so started right freshman year.
Yeah, I mean, great experience. I started pre-med, so I started the second semester of my freshman year. That didn't last too long, but it was a lot of fun. The real world experience. I mean, I was at games. I was covering the Knicks. I was going to Shea Stadium to watch the Mets, the Yankee Stadium to watch the Yankees, the Giants, the Jets. I mean, we had the credentials. We were there. We were talking to the players. We were interacting with them. We did a sports calling show. We were doing updates. I mean, it was a great foundation for me, and I learned. I mean, without going to Fordham, without being a part of FUV, there's no way I don't think I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And then all the guys that you mentioned. I mean, Breen used to come back every year to listen to tapes, critique tapes, give us advice. I mean, all those guys, and just the wealth of knowledge that they have just from doing it and being in that business almost gives you a little something like, hey, you know what? If they did it, I can do it. So
that's right, and that's important. Alumni being able to support the future from their institution.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah, and that's the great foundation. I loved it there. I wish I could go back to Fordham. for another 4 years. So.
Wow, wow, and it's a beautiful campus too. I covered the Fordham UMass game last year, and it just great vibe, great atmosphere.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, it's got, you know, you think the Bronx, and you're not sure what to expect when you're up there, but culturally, I mean, I lived off campus for 2 years, and being on Arthur Avenue and exploring and being on Fordham Road, and then you had that campus setting because inside that, you know, inside that campus, I mean, it's gorgeous. I loved it up there.